No gender wage gap. I mean, I'll just say, you think there's a gender wage gap. That's also evidence of oppression and not equal rights, right? Gender wage gap, gender wage gap. I mean, look, we don't have really time to linger too long on it. So you have the controlled, uncontrolled gender wage gap. The gender wage gap is comparing all men and all women and just doing a comparison. You're not factoring hours worked, type of job, seniority in the company, location. Like the uncontrolled gender wage gap is like, it's looking at everything, right? So you're going to take a, what's an attorney that, a public defender in Idaho, and you're going to compare his salary to a civil litigation lawyer in New York City who works at one of the top law firms and he went to Harvard Law School. That's the uncontrolled wage gap. And then, of course, you're going to have males who are in Idaho and the woman who's like a high-powered attorney who went to Harvard and is working civil litigation and making like maybe even millions of dollars a year. When you start controlling for all these factors, hours worked, type of job, location, geography, overtime, hazard pay, willingness to relocate, there's over a dozen different factors, it shrinks down to 1 cent between men and women. That's the difference. It's 1 cent. If I seem to recall, every single one of you said you want men to pay for the first date. Well, you said yes, men should pay, men should pay, men should pay, men should pay, men should pay.
I said I was 50-50.
Yeah. Who here wants to be a stay-at-home mom and not have to work? You?
Depends.
Into the mic?
It depends. I think it depends on the relationship and how many kids we have. I would like to be at home raising the kids, but I think once they're a certain age, you could go back to work. But
you would want to take some time off of work, right? And you would, I assume you would hope in that scenario that your husband would be working during that time. And he would continue working after that, and he was working before that, right?
Ideally, yeah.
So he'll take less time off than you, right?
Like paternity, yeah. Paternity leave, yeah.
Yes. So couldn't the wage gap, whether it's controlled or uncontrolled, be fully explained away by women's social and mating pressure that you guys on the individual and group level exert on men that we don't exert back on you? You want a guy to pay for the first date. Y'all want a guy to pay for the first date. Some of you want to be stay-at-home wives. You don't want to work at all, and you want the guy to be able to make enough money to do that. Wouldn't that indicate, or wouldn't that lead men, if in order to date you, I need to make this much money, I need to spend money on the date that you don't have to spend for, you guys are the ones who are enforcing men's greater propensity and desire to earn more money so that they could provide for your own wants. So couldn't it just be, the gender wage gap is just entirely explained away by your standards for men? Is there a rebuttal? I don't know if you're disagreeing.
No, I think in general, I had said that I would prefer somebody who pays on the first date, but I think whoever is asking, whether that's the girl or guy, because you had said that you would ask a guy on a date sometimes, I think whoever asks on the date should be the person providing the pay for that.
Do you think, so if I'm, me personally, like let's say I didn't have this podcast and girls like weren't like DMing me or whatever, do you think I can move through life and just wait for girls to ask me out? Like, I'm definitely not attractive enough to do that.
If that's the kind of girl you like some girls do like taking initiative like that.
Okay. But like, how long am I going to wait for that? Because you could go to a bar and you could get a dude, like you could have 10 dudes come up to you. How attractive as a guy do you need to be to get that? I don't even think really hot dudes are going to get hit on 10 times.
Yeah, I never asked a guy out on the first date either, but if I
how many times have you approached a guy?
I would never, because I like when a man takes initiative.
So
even if he's like, if I saw someone that was my ideal perfect man, I still wouldn't do it.
And would you consider yourself no, you're fine. Do you consider yourself like more liberal, more progressive, like politically progressive?
I would say I'm pretty middle ground. Yeah. I have some liberal ideologies, but I'm pretty conservative.
Even with the whole,
the family situation.
Oh, yeah. But like politically, are you
Pretty liberal, if
right.
middle ground.
So what if I told you conservative women, they absolutely, which is maybe 50% of women, they don't want to be chasing a man like that. They don't want to approach a man. And then even you yourself, you're a liberal woman. You don't want to, you've never approached a guy. You don't ask guys out on dates. So there's a lot of women, there's more women who think like you than think like, oh yeah, I'm approach that guy.
I agree with you.
Right. So, you're saying that, oh, well, whoever asks should pay.
Yeah, but if a girl feels obligated or like is intentional and wants to do that, then sure, pay for it because
absolutely.
You're still
and
asking
it does happen.
Yeah.
Rarely, but so knowing that the entire framework of dating is 99% or 95%, whatever you want to attribute to it, the guy's going to have to initiate, and then by your own worldview, if the person who asks has to pay, that means the financial burden falls on men. There's no financial burden that falls on you.
I don't think it necessarily has to be a financial burden.
It literally is though.
No, because you could take somebody out to the park. You could take them somewhere where you're not spending money, but I'm still saying the person who takes initiative is what I find attractive.
So how about the first date the guy takes you to the park? When you're in a relationship with a guy, like second date, third date, fourth date, fifth date, let's say he does want to go out to dinner. Should he pay for it then?
Like we're in a relationship?
Second date, third date, fourth date. I don't know if you're in a relationship yet. Second date, third, up to the fifth, sixth date. Should he pay for all dates?
Not necessarily all dates.
Has that been your experience though?
That he would pay?
Has it been your dating experience when you've gone on a second, third, fourth date? I'm sure you've been on first dates where he did take you to a nice dinner, right?
Yeah.
And second, third, fourth, fifth dates, he took you to dinner or he paid for something, right?
Right.
So of your second, third, and fourth, fifth dates, whatever.
Sometimes I'll try to pay, yeah, for sure.
But has it been your experience on first, second, third, fourth, fifth dates, even in those subsequent dates, he's still going to pay?
I mean, yeah, but I still would try. But usually the men that I date are
the old reach for the purse. Like
no, like I actually,
pretending like you're gonna pay.
No, I actually I was seeing somebody and we had been on a date and he had gone to the bathroom and I asked for the bill when he was there because he had paid for several dates prior to that and I thought that was a nice thing to do. And when he came back, he had asked them for the bill, and I had already paid, and he was pretty upset about it.
I'd be so insulted, but it is nice
even
though.
me.
If a girl, I've had an experience before when girls have like planned a date. They've been like, "Oh, I want to go to the movies."
That's different. That's what I'm
and
saying.
then
They're planning
they've gotten the tickets, and you get there, and they're like, "Already got." I was like, "Oh, that's thoughtful."
Yeah,
you know?
that's
shows that I'm not an ATM.
And they're planning it. Like the guy doesn't have to pay for every date.
Yeah, that's what I mean by when
Especially
I
if
say
you're in a
add out.
relationship.
Let me ask you a question. You go on a first date with a guy, and he does take you to dinner. And I don't know, it's maybe $100 total. The waiter comes, and waiter says, "Do you guys want anything more?" And he says, "No, I think we're good. We're full, no dessert. 2 checks, please." Are you going to go on a second date with him?
No.
Thank you for proving my point. So because you offered this up as a rebuttal to my position on the wage gap. So my argument is the wage gap is explained by the fact that women put a social and mating pressure on men that doesn't exist on you. You guys can be motivated to succeed for your survival, but when it comes to like getting a partner, getting romance, getting sex, down the road having kids, we are not looking at your money. In fact, I think when you talk about the table, you're like, it's kind of icky when a guy cares about a woman's money.
Yeah, we established at the start that men don't really care about a woman's money.
I'm just saying, if you're asking me on the date and then you're asking me to split it, I think that's odd.
But
I'll pay, but I'm not going to go on a date with them again.
But you're offering this up as like, so we were talking about the gender wage gap, and I'm trying to understand if it's like you're offering it up as a rebuttal. Well, it's men's fault because they're the ones asking for dates. But like, I would agree with you, sort of, if men and women asked each other out at 50% rates, but it's definitely not. It's like 99% men are asking women out. Maybe 1% of women ask men out. Not 1% of women, but like 1% of the time, the woman's being the initiator. We could even bump it up to 5% if you disagree, 95 to 5%. So if your standard is, well, whoever asks should pay, this would make sense if men and women asked each other out at similar rates.
It still makes sense. It's my opinion.
Well, sure, but like, there's a social pressure on men to initiate, Because if we don't, like if I'm a guy, the average guy, if he doesn't initiate, he doesn't make the first move, he's literally zeroing himself out. Like he'll literally die a virgin. Like if a guy never makes a move, there's not a girl coming. You guys can move through life. You can go to the club, just show up. There's going to be 10 men who are hitting on you. You can go on a dating app. You just create the profile. You have 500 matches, 24 hours. You just go to Trader Joe's. You go about your life. Maybe some guy's maybe you don't like him, whatever, but you can go about your life and men will come to you. Women can move through their lives without ever having to approach a man. Not once. Have you ever approached a guy? Maybe you have. Maybe and how many you've dated? You've had a couple different. How many guys have you dated? 5, 6?
4. No, not many.
Every single guy you've dated, every relationship you've had, you didn't need to make the first move.
Right.
You didn't initiate. Women can move through life that way. As a guy, I don't have, I got to put myself out there. I got to shoot my shot. I got to deal with that kind of rejection. You guys can move through life without ever having to make the first move. You can. There are women who do. It might help you get that exact guy you want.
I don't think so, though, because
Well,
the
that's
exact
fine.
guy that I would want, I don't think would
Sure.
want a woman approaching them like
That's
that.
sure.
They want to be the dominant one engaging the conversation.
That's totally fine. That's not really the point I'm arguing. But I'm just, again, gender wage gap. You guys create, do you think men are really, really motivated to, when it comes to dating women or to try to get sex from women?
Mm-hmm.
Super motivated, having kids. I think women care about this too, right?
You're saying, is that why they date?
Well, I'm saying more so how important is it to men to get a girlfriend, get romantic interest, date a woman, have sex with them, maybe down the road have kids?
Yeah.
I think this is for the vast majority of men, this is probably the most important thing in their life, right?
That's the biggest decision you make.
It's one of the biggest things in your life, right? If it's one of the biggest things in your life, then don't you think if women set a certain standard, you need to be financially attractive, you need to pay for dates, I won't date you, I won't sleep with you if you don't pay for the first date? Don't you think that creates a massive social pressure, a one-directional social pressure on men?
No, I don't think that you have to have some crazy financial literacy and financial means above a woman. I'm saying you could take somebody out for coffee
No.
and you're offering to buy them a muffin. That's not going to break the bank for anybody.
No, I know. I don't, but I'm not sure if I'm making it clear. So, do you, I mean, I'm not sure how else to articulate this. So you don't think men feel a pressure to be financially attractive to women?
Maybe, yeah, in general.
I mean, you said just to be clear, the question is, what would you want the minimum yearly income to be for your future husband? You said 150,000.
Right.
So you did, just on that metric alone, I think that's top 10%.
That's top 10, yep.
You're disqualifying 90% of men just off of the minimum. You said minimum. So perhaps you it'd be really nice to date 300K. You know how much money I care about? How much? Oh my God, sorry. Hold on, let me play this. Fucking can't speak. I don't care. She could work at Chick-fil-A. She could be a barista. Don't care.
We talked about that we agree that men don't really care about the financial stability
Yeah,
of a woman.
we do agree, but we're talking about the gender wage gap. And what I'm trying to argue is that you're saying it's, this evil thing, man, blah, blah, blah. Women are oppressed. Gender
there are
wage gap.
still things in play and laws in the United States that allow for there to be less of a gender gap with wage. But I'm saying in practice, most CEOs are men, most higher people in businesses are men, and that's just historically what the case is. That doesn't mean that women can't make money, and that doesn't mean that women can't hold stature like that.
Well,
but in general, men do make more money.
But you want that, though. How can you simultaneously say gender wage gap bad, but I want a guy to pay for the first
I said
date?
gender wage gap is prevalent.
Oh, so you're in favor of the gender wage gap? You think it's good?
I don't think that it's good or bad, but it is a thing.
But you said it was, hold on, you said the gender wage gap is evidence of either unequal rights or women's oppression in the USA. Is women's...
That is a type of oppression, just because
Is
men
it
have
bad?
different oppression.
Okay, is oppression bad?
Of course.
Okay, if the gender wage gap is evidence of women's oppression, then ergo, the gender wage gap must surely be bad if it's oppressing women.
Right, and it's oppressing women in their wage. Not every woman is dating men. Not every woman is dating women. Not every woman is dating in general. Just because they make less money doesn't mean that they're going to then make more money through marriage.
Look, you said that if a guy didn't pay for the first date and he took you to dinner and he said 2 checks, you pay for your food, I pay for mine, there wouldn't be a second date.
Yeah, that's my opinion.
As a guy, can I go on a date with a girl and ever have the expectation that she's going to pay for the entire bill on the first date?
If she asks you on a date. I don't know why you're getting so frustrated with me. I'm just answering my opinion honestly.
You denied that there's a mating pressure that exists on men when it comes to money.
I said that's a type of oppression. There are different types of
I don't think it's
oppression with men and women. There's different societal pressures.
I don't think it's oppression that women want men to pay for first dates. I think...
Is that pressure? Yeah, that's pressure.
No, it's pressure. But excuse me, I thought you said oppression. Yes, there's a mating pressure.
Yes,
and the
there's
point I'm
pressure.
trying to make, because of the mating pressure that women apply to men, that men do not apply at all to women, we don't care about how much money you make. Women care decent. Some women are different. Some women don't care. Enough women care that it creates a generalized social and mating pressure on men to be more prone and inclined to financial achievement and success. If there's a pressure to do something, don't you think that would make it more likely for somebody to achieve?
I don't agree.
Okay.
Like, it's fine.
When
There
it comes
is
to making
pressure,
money,
yes.
hold on, when it comes to making money, if I can never, like, let's say the dynamic here, in order for me to get a wife who's willing to have children with me, I need to be a provider as a man.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to further my bloodline, if I want a spouse, if I want a wife, I need to be a provider. As a woman, you don't need to be a provider. Would this not be a massive pressure on men?
I said several times it's a pressure. I agree with you.
It's a mating pressure and a social pressure, but you seem to deny that it has any impact on the gender wage gap. Do you think men or women are more motivated to make money?
Men.
And could one of those reasons men are more motivated to make money is that if they don't make money, they're not going to get sexual or romantic access to women? They're less likely to have children?
Sure.
So this pressure, if men are more motivated to make money, would that be a way to explain away the gender wage gap?
I'm not sure. I've said my stance, so
Okay.
I agree with you. It's pressure.
All right. So it's women's fault? The gender wage gap is the women's fault?
No, that's not the leap that goes there.
That's the leap that I'm taking.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it right. That's your opinion.
Well, I don't think it's an opinion.
It is.
So you think men care more about...
You think it's women's fault that there's a gender gap?
Insofar as women place a massive pressure on men to be providers that does not exist in the opposite. So if there's a differential in motivation and pressure that you guys apply towards us...
So what about single men?
Huh?
So what about single men? They're not trying to earn a high income because they're not trying to provide for a family? It's not the same thing?
Single men don't want to eventually date a woman? Single men are the ones who want to become financially attractive. Are you saying just
I'm saying in general,
asexual men?
Yeah, people that don't have any interest in marriage, whether or not they want to date or whatever casually, they're not going to be providing for a family.
Women are
They
still going to be more
might-
interested in them if they're high earners and if they have resources to give.
even if they're not married and they're not
Even if they're not
providing
married, even
for
if
the
they're
family.
they're just dating a girl, they're just sleeping with a girl. Yeah.
Even if they only want to have one night stands for the rest of their life, yes, being financially attractive, even in that scenario, is going to confer benefits over a broke guy.
Maybe.
It's just survival of the fittest, I think. Just get that money up and it'll be good. Like,
Okay. All right. I mean,